Welcome again to another episode of Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. I am your host, Lionel McDonald. So here we are, another episode coming down to the end of the year. It's last Friday, so happy Friday, everyone. Um, Finally, Toronto's got some snow on the ground, but pretty amazing um, holiday for me and my family so far. My daughter has been a little off as she's had an injury at school, but she's on the mend and doing much better. But for the sneaker world, definitely some interesting things have happened as of late. We've already come off the Legend Blue 11. So, and again, appreciate everyone listening on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, watching it on YouTube. All the followers that have carried us through the entire year on this podcast are really appreciated, and I can't thank you enough. So, hey, today and in the sneaker world, and actually, I fixed my Knicks hat. Let's shout out the Knicks again for what an amazing win yesterday in Karl Anthony Towns' return to Minnesota. Absolutely incredible fourth quarter where they scored 41 points. They put up 130 to, I think it was 106. So an absolute blowout of the Timberwolves. The Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and I miss DiVincenzo so much. But for Karl Anthony Towns, that trade has really worked out in the Knicks' favor. Karl Anthony Towns is at the top of the leaderboard in rebounding on top of his scoring, and the team continues to perform at a very high level. They're still finding their synergy and how they can lock down better on the perimeter, but specifically the three-point line. That's still the Achilles heel of the team. But yeah, shout out to the Knicks again before we get cracking. So let's get into it. We are going to talk about the Blueberry 12 that just launched last week. Sorry, I'll take that back. Not last week. It launched 2 days ago. It launched on Wednesday. And there wasn't a lot of hype about this one. It is a clean colorway. If we go back and look at the Air Jordan model overall, there's 5 original colors. There's the taxi, as we all know. There's the playoff. There's the white and black. There's the red. And then last but not least, the Obsidian, which looks like the black, but it's navy. I think this is the one he wore in the All-Star game of the 1996-97 season. This is the year after, obviously, the 72 and 10 year. So this model has there's a lot of demand for it. In most cases, when we have an original color, it's where things deviate is when we bring out a non-original color. Now, I live in Toronto. OVO 10 or OVO 10s and 12s are some of the most popular shoes. When they released, I want to say it was like 2016, 2017, was in huge demand. Countdown pack from 08, when the taxi was in there, huge demand on that. So there are people that love the 12. I'm not a huge 12 fan, but the 12 is an important shoe to many people in the marketplace. As a sneaker collector, I think it's a must-have, whether you like 12 lows or 12 highs. If you're a true fan of Jordans, and it's not the 3, the 4, the 1, the 11, or even the 5 or 6. Some people even love the 7. But I think as a sneaker fan, you definitely have to have a Jordan 12 in your collection. So this one that they called the Blueberry, we're going to go by the street name. It's funny, it almost matches my hat. The Blueberry 12 was set to release on December 18th. And this will kind of roll into another topic with this specific shoe and sneakers in general. It's the law of supply and demand. So let's rewind the last 3 big Jordan launches. Around Black Friday, we had the Black Cement 3, arguably one of the best, if not the best, Jordan shoes that ever released. Tons of supply. There was a huge demand for it, but there was enough supplies to meet the shoe. So hey, guess what? It's out there. the price is crazy. It's like in Canadian, it's like 280. And one of those things with that shoe is it didn't sell out. The big sizes sold out. Big sizes continue to be a higher demand. So 10 and a half, probably 11 to 13, 14 and 15, if you can find it, totally sold out everywhere. Wherever you go, nines and a halves are sitting on shelves. Fast forward 3 weeks later, we just had the launch beginning in the middle of this month. Actually, it was last weekend. It's funny how time is flying. It's 2 weekends ago. We had the Jordan 11 Legend Blue. Now, the Legend Blue, tons of pairs. There was over almost 200,000 pairs of this particular sneaker that was out there. Did it sell out? No. Tons of supply. People are still picking away, buying their pair. It's the closest thing we have to one of the original colors. Again, we have the Playoff, we have the Concord, and we have that one along with two lows that have kind of like a mesh upper it's far more breathable than you wore in the summer. You actually wore that one in the playoffs for a game. But the reality is there's pairs of that one out there. Now, come to current times, this week, Blueberry 12 launches, and sure enough, the Blueberry 12 has crazy demand. It's sold out in the US. I watched a video earlier by my boy Unbreakable Kick, so shout out to you. Totally hyping up this shoe that it sold out. And it's unbelievable that in the US it's sold. Now, I tell you, it's a different story in Canada. It's available. And the resellers are playing a part of the game, selected resellers at least, of driving the demand and the engagement. The word on the street, this sold out in the US, could not find your pair, had to go to StockX, GOAT, eBay, wherever you go and get this. So there was a demand. People are now buying this up in Canada because there's a demand. People will spend money to get the shoe. What's different about the Blueberry 12 and the Legend Blue 11 and the Black Cement 3, there's far less supply of this shoe. So this goes into the other part of the major topic. We're going to do 101 Sneakernomics, the law of supply and demand. So manufacturers produce a shoe, create a shoe, buy a shoe, and the materials to put it out in the marketplace. And just rough numbers, Nike makes a shoe for $100. It takes about $5 or $25, give or take, in a factory to make the shoe, plus shipping, plus handling. We're probably rounding out to $30. They're selling it to a retailer for $55. The retailers are now selling it for a retail of $100. So that is kind of the markup and the makeup of a shoe. Now, at the same time, if there's a ton of the shoe, despite there being a big demand, this shoe may sit. And this is why we see so many of these high heat retros. When a store gets a ton of pair, so the old Jordan store used to get like 400 or 600 or 700 pairs of a shoe. Many other retailers get loaded with inventory of a particular shoe. And you may have it. There may be a big demand, but you may sell through it. You may not. You may not sell through it on the same day. So people say, oh, that's a brick. You don't know how many pairs they have. But when there's a huge demand, no different than, hey, when Justin Timberlake dropped his JTH Jordan 3 white cement, there was a huge demand for the shoe. Everyone was asking where you can get it. They only launched it at the Jordan store. It did not matter how many shoes they actually had. They were selling every last one because the supply in this case was extremely limited. You could only go to certain places. And even to this day, this shoe is worth $7, $8, $1,000, essentially Canadian dollars. Flip it to American, we're talking $700, $650. But because the supply was so limited, the demand was so high, it's driven the price up. When there is a huge supply, like the Legend Blue 11, and good to moderate demand, this is going to lead to us potentially not selling out, but the price of this item is going to stay at its retail price, and in even some cases may go below its retail price because the market is so saturated. And on all top of that, this is when retros you see in stores go on sale. When they don't sell through, when we've had the shoe in a marketplace for a period of time, retailers must now turn their inventory to give space to the next new item that's coming in. Hence why there's now a decision to ultimately put something on sale. And hopefully that's putting it on sale will now increase the interest of the shoe, essentially changing the demand and helping to liquidate the supply that they currently have. So, perfect example, now going back to the shoes that have come out. Legend Blue 11, Black Cement 3, tons of supply, lots of demand, but the demand did not exceed the supply. So the shoe is still available in the marketplace. Canada specifically had some delivery problems with the ports that were happening, and the port workers were on strike. The shoe did not arrive in time for the launch. It arrived the day of, the next day. It wasn't available in many places online till after the launch date. So what did that do? People went in another avenue. People bought it secondhand, bought it on the resale market. People bought it on Go. People bought it because they felt that they need to have the shoe. They didn't wait for their local retail store to have it. So what has now happened? The local retail stores have the shoe. Shoe's not selling out. Shoe is still available. Shoe's probably going to be available on Boxing Day, which is the biggest shopping day for my American friends on the calendar in Canada. It actually trumps Black Friday. Black Friday is something relatively new over the last 10 or 15 years that now means something to the Canadian market. But that is the case. When the supply now exceeds the demand, the item sits. The item loses value, and ultimately retailers must mark the item down or wait, play the long game, and wait until ultimately that you can sell out of the particular item. So that is the challenge with how certain things work. Now, hey, let's go to the total opposite end of the spectrum. This is somewhere in the middle, Blueberry 12, but the total opposite end of the spectrum. Travis Scott, the Stash 95s that launched, very limited supply. You can only get it through Kith, through Nike, through some other special retailers. You have to hit on the sneakers app, and when you go to the sneakers app, there is a huge demand and not a lot of supply for the size that you may want. So what does that mean? This results in the price of the item going way up. When the price goes up, that drives the demand also up. People think that they gotta have it. People think that this is an item that they must have in their collection. So that's why we see Travis Scott's are $500, $600, $700 Canadian, because it's so hard to get them in your hands. So as you look at how the reseller plays a factor in this, if they help buy up the supply, there's less available supply in the marketplace for people to buy. So what does that do? Causes the demand for people to go out and buy the shoe. Resellers sometimes do get stuck. They buy a shoe that has a demand, but the demand cools so quickly that now they're stuck with this supply. They have to find ways to mark it down. They have to wait, they make bundle deals or a variety of different things in order to liquidate an item and move on to the next one. Because again, cash is very liquid. They have to be able to buy new merchandise that is going to be in demand. Another factor that plays into the law of supply and demand is athletes and celebrities. So, hey, many people are saying the AE1. I'll get to my list eventually on a future podcast episode, but people are saying the AE1 is the sneaker of the year. When you get a hot celebrity or athlete wearing an item, this can drive the supply. This can drive the demand way beyond what the original supply was forecasted. So let's think about the last few years. We had Kardashians wearing Timberlands in New York. We had Kanye wearing Yeezy colors that were not even out. this helped to drive the demand for a shoe that they couldn't get their hands on. So when it became available, the demand far exceeded the supply. The item sold, and the item now has tremendous resale value. When you have, a top fashion model wearing the Adidas Samba in Fifth Avenue like 3 years ago, this is what helped to create the craze of the Adidas Samba that we've had now in 2024. That may cool. We may move on to Handball Special, or we may move on to Puma Speed Cats or something like that. But those are also factors that help to drive that. This is why athletes and celebrities are such sought after commodities, to get behind an item and hopefully drive interest, engagement in your brand, but also to help drive revenue for a business in a particular item or a line that they're trying to deliver. And again, this all helps to create buzz. Media plays a huge factor in the buzz that is created with a particular item. This is why sneaker bloggers, sneaker influencers, I am not in any way a top tier sneaker. I'm a sneakerhead and a sneaker enthusiast, but in terms of the size of my platform, it's not anywhere near the same size as Unbreakable Kicks or my boy Dre or the Professor. None of those guys. Those guys are huge. Wear Testers, Heat Ledger, amongst others. Canada Got Sold. There's Sean Go, who's taken a little bit of a hiatus, and shout out to Sean. He's been on the pod. Those guys are huge. They're massive. They have huge followings. He's Kicks and is another one. Like, there's so many people that have massive influences on sneakers, and these people can really help to dictate how important a shoe is going to be. They do reviews. They talk about shoes like I do. I'm just a small guy that loves sneakers and loves to just share insights and perspective. So when they get behind the shoe before it releases, this can create additional interest because of their following and help to drive the demand of a particular item. So again, going back to our equation, when the demand exceeds the supply, now we have more people wanting a shoe with limited supply. This shoe is only going to sell out. It's also going to be worth something on the resale market, but this is also going to help people want to really get after this item. So that's the name of the game. Blueberry 12s looks like they're worth something now. I don't think that was even on my radar at the beginning of the holiday season or even the year. There's so many things that come out in 2025, like the Rare Airs, like so many other sneakers that are going to drop. White Cement 4 is going to be an absolute killer. Thank God I already have a pair, and I don't even need to consider buying that. But many people, sneakerheads like myself, absolutely need to double up, absolutely want to see this shoe back in the marketplace and get their hands on a pair. Maybe they've beaten theirs. Like, I had this shoe in 99, and then I also bought it, I think it was 2015 or 2016. So I'm straight. I am totally good. But my other fellow sneakerheads, enthusiasts, collectors, et cetera, resellers included, will need this shoe. So there's lots of things out there. The Blueberry 12 wasn't a shoe that was in high demand, but it's something that people are going to want. So amazing how the law of supply and demand plays such a factor into whether people want a shoe or not. And sometimes we just have to go with your gut and what you believe in and what you like. This is what I've been advocating literally for 30 plus years since I got involved in sneakers. I love things that people hate. I love things that people think, those are okay. Whether it's Nike training shoes like Bo Jackson's or Dion's or Griffey's, et cetera, et cetera. I love those. That's my era. 90s basketball shoes. I think there's nothing better than 90s basketball shoes. They're selected models in Jordan 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then go back to 1, 2, which is I'm a huge fan of, and people don't like the 2. 11. I don't love the 12 and the 13 as much as some other people, but different strokes for different folks. I do like the odd New Balance. My favorite is 574. I'm not on the 990 the 990 train in comparison. Most people in DMV, you gotta love that shoe. That's your shoe. Stand on business. Stand on that one. But there are so many other shoes and sneakers that are out there. I was on Saucony years ago. People laughed at me, but I love them. And now Saucony is going to be the new hot brand that comes into the marketplace in 2025. Just watch. Mark my words. Adidas was hot. I love the classic. I love Pro Shells and I love Superstars. Other people don't love those. They want Yeezys. They want Sambas. Those are cool. You know, I've had a pair or two over the time and still have them in my collection, but you got to go with what you like. Don't let the marketplace dictate whether you got to get a shoe or you don't got to get a shoe. Got to go and flow with what works for you and what you feel comfortable. That is how you're going to build a collection that you're proud of, but also build a collection that you'll be able to engage and have conversations, because the passion, and that's where sneaker culture really came from. The passion about people and their stories of how they found the shoe and how proudly they wear shoes. Don't wear it for hype. Just wear the shoe because you love the shoe. You love the model. You love the color. You love how it makes you feel. That is what a sneakerhead or a sneaker enthusiast is all about. When we get too wrapped up in it's hype, I got to wear the hype shoe, that's it. Do you think it's always cool to be a Knicks fan? It hasn't been cool until like the last 3 or 4 years. But I ride with the Knicks. I've ridden with the Knicks since Patrick Ewing in 1985. So I've been on this bus coming up now on 40 years. That's how old I am. So plus 10. So I'm 50 for those that didn't do the math. But you got to go with what you like. You got to go with the items that make sense to your collection, the items that you're passionate about. That's how, and that's how we can control the law of supply and demand, but that's ensure that you don't get wrapped up in the hype and ultimately buy what you want to buy. So that's it. That's all I got for today. Hopefully you learned something. Hope you have a new perspective on sneakers and just in general, like the law of supply and demand applies to an automobile, a house. That's what the housing market went crazy in Toronto the last few years. The law of supply and demand played a factor in that. There was a ton of demand and not a lot of supply. Eventually, it rose housing prices through the roof. Now they're starting to level off as interest rates start to come down. So it applies to so many different things, and something that you love like sneakers, it definitely applies. So that's all. Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. Lionel McDonald signing off. Appreciate you all listening. But you don't hear from you again, I probably got 2 or 3 more episodes that I'd like to get out before the end of the year. One on hip hop. One, I'm trying to get a couple special guests on to talk about song or these special pieces for the OGs. So there's a lot of like top 10 shoes for the OGs is really what I'm getting at. But we'll see if how that one comes to be. But that's it. If I don't talk to you again, we don't tune in and connect through the podcast. Have a great holiday season. Happy New Year. Got lots more episodes on deck and in 2025. Appreciate every single person that listens to this pod. We out for now.